we're not special. And I think the more you get through the kind of narcissistic, we are such an important individual, I'm so important as a person, one person, I'm so, so important. And you start realizing that the earth just recycles us like we do all the other stuff.
Yeah.
That
just like
matter, all of us.
Said, earth is going to shake us off like a bad cold. But I will say this, when it comes to, for the here and now and waking up the people, and like I said, the neoliberal scum that puts everyone to sleep is the true danger. When people like Kevin O'Leary talk like this, it's impossible to ignore it. It's impossible for people not to feel a sense of revolutionary rage.
I got it, bro.
Let me ask, though, about why taxpayers should have to pay for this if it's a private business and your tenants are some of the richest companies in the world. Why would taxpayers be required, as they now are, to subsidize this?
They don't necessarily have to do that. They just won't win any contracts. It's a competition.
But why are you getting tax breaks is my question.
Yeah, everybody, you go back and you say, what incentives can you give us to invest $15 billion in the first 1.5 gigs? That's what it takes. I have to go raise $15 billion. Well, that's just
okay, but anyone who starts a business, why should taxpayers have to pony up for that?
We don't.
They don't. But
well, of course they do. If you're getting a tax break and they're not, they're making up the difference. There's a state budget.
That's no problem. That's no problem. I can build it in Texas. I can build it in Jacksonville, Mississippi.
But why, if it's such a good business, would you be asking taxpayers to help pay for it without giving them equity in the company? Are you giving taxpayers shares?
No, the investors get the shares, but here's why they would do it.
Why would the taxpayers have to? I mean, in other words, if you want to start a business, but why am I, as a taxpayer, forced to pay for your business? I don't get it.
Well, let's forget about data centers. Let's go any manufacturing. Let's say you're going to build.
Because he's such a fuck and a half, he just can't help himself. He's such an elitist of the worst kind. And the thing about him in particular, Steve, is this is a guy that comes from a country that has universal education and healthcare. He grew up with that. And he's one of those guys that fights tooth and nail in this country for people to not have any of it. So there's a level of sociopathic narcissism out of somebody like Kevin O'Leary, but in some ways it's the blessing in disguise of Trump, because he gives platforms to people like this that typically...
He's not Mr. Wonderful.
He calls himself Mr. Wonderful.
This is Mr. Wonderful, okay? And anybody who says otherwise just doesn't know, okay? Thank you.
Yeah, him and Rowdy Piper. I mean, they were the two original. I
saw them many good times.
That's right. The original.
I refuse to let Kevin O'Leary steal Mr. Wonderful.
Can I get on my soapbox for eighth of a second?
Yes.
So one of the big awakenings that I've had, and I call them awakenings because I've known a lot of things. I just haven't incorporated them into my analysis, into the way I live, into the way I view the world. Like I know them. I mean, like, data can just spit out facts and stuff. There are a lot of people out there, read a lot of books, spit out a lot of facts, have zero analysis. Okay. What I have been working on tirelessly of late is the Gramscian element to understanding institutions and understanding cultural hegemony and why we believe what we believe and why we fight so hard to retain these things that just ain't necessarily so, right? And one of the biggest things is understanding that all the institutions being government, institutions being like these departments, these NGOs, these cultural norms that we have accepted as just a way of life, the rules, the laws, all that stuff, they were not created by the people. They were created on high by the oligarchy to control and to make us believe certain things, right? It's not like they even hide it. Like, you understand how much money they spend propagandizing us, educating us in the wrong things, getting us to divert our eyes away from what matters and onto other stupid things, right? And what I have really spent a lot of time doing, and it's really hard to read, but Gramsci's Prison Notebooks, there are 3 volumes. Ironically, Pete Buttigieg's father was the one that translated them from the Italian. But it's really, really important to understand that these institutions were never about you and I. They were never about the people. These institutions, we uphold them as if they're God breathed, like we just, oh my God, of course, red, white, and blue. I love my country. I love this and the other, right? But in reality, these things were there. They were built to keep us in line, in check, and to perform and do certain things in certain ways. And I just think it's really important that we fight and resist that. I mean, just simply resisting the programming is a revolutionary act. Speaking
Yes.
truth out into the world is a revolutionary act. You know, deciding to maybe skip Netflix and chill and invest your time into really reading some political theory and trying to better understand history through a dialectical lens, right? Really taking time to understand the world you're in and build community. One final thing, Peter, and I'll let you jump in. It's about building resiliency outside of this system and being able, because if you think about it, everybody says general strike, got to have a general strike.
Right.
Think about what it takes to keep people from crossing the line. Think about what it takes to keep people. I mean, if you read Che Guevara, like when you talk about the guerrilla warfare, he talked about how the people were the revolutionaries' water. The fish without the revolution, without the people, they would die. The revolutionary needs the people. And so building that community, building that resiliency, I think is the most important thing. And again, it has taken so much time to kind of grab hold of some of this shit and shift focus away from kind of that rote we're going through. Hey, we can have great things if they just understand how the monetary system works. Hey, we can have great things. These are all true things. And I want people to understand, like, MMT still matters, but I'm like the Darth Vader of MMT now. I'm no longer sitting there talking about a Green New Deal or ending student debt. I'm now
No.
showing how they are using the system to discipline us, to institute austerity, to show us, to control us, and to harm us, and to keep us at bay. Go ahead,
And
Peter. I'm sorry.
And that is exactly why when you give people like O'Leary, who is truly a sociopathic narcissist, who truly believes in the superiority of the elites, he lets it all hang out. You can actually follow the roadmap, the yellow brick road, if you will, when he starts to go off. Capitalize the profits, socialize the losses, and he just throws it right out there for you. And when somebody, and listen, whether you like Tucker or not, Tucker is very good at what he does. He gets people to say shit in a way that if they thought about it afterwards, like, nah, I probably shouldn't have said that. And they're just thumbing you in the eye now. It's at the point where they're daring the people to rise up. That's where we're at.
I'm going to say this about Tucker, and you could do with this as you will, okay? Him and a bunch of them, they get you up to a certain point. But at the end of the day, they are still part of circling you back in the recycling bin of electoralism, of buying into the empire, buying into the thing. Even when they take an edgy position that feels, oh my God, they said that? Wow, that's so edgy, right? But what they're doing is they're coming up with an acceptable revolutionary mind, an acceptable level of discourse that takes people to feel like they're getting their ability to yell and scream or be angry. It's like, yeah, he heard me, but simultaneously not lead to anything other than right back to it. Hey, we got to start another party. Hey, we got to vote for this. Hey, and what I think is probably going to be the most important thing is when people wake up and they say, if I vote, if I don't vote, nothing will fundamentally change at all, except it will continue getting worse. These data centers will not stop being built. These wars will not stop being committed. The poverty will not stop being done. They will continue purposely making that so. They will continue predating on the global south. Even, and the freaking LSD hallucinations of the BRICS. God love the people that think the BRICS are ready to take over. But if you're doing any real meaningful digging, not just propagandizing yourself, you're going to realize that at the end of the day, the U.S. is still large and in charge. It is still large and in charge. It doesn't matter if people are buying and dropping their bonds or not. You understand?
I'm gonna push back on you for a second. I
Knock yourself
agree.
out.
I think that the U.S. is still on top, but I actually think that position is extremely precarious in a lot of ways. And I do believe that that's where the issue of Israel becomes a significant inflection point in this country. Because I think what's happening is there's two ways that this is moving. The one way that it's moving stateside is that the America First movement, which obviously is a combination of nationalism, but it's also a form of, dare I say, progressive libertarianism that is taking over, where people truly want to make this about the American citizenry again. They're understanding that we have been the global bully since frankly, we've been the global bully since World War I. People think it's World War II, but it's actually not. It's actually been going on for well over 100 years. And we're at a point now where that side of libertarianism, which is we do not want to be involved in these forever wars, I think obviously coincides with a lot of the progressive mindset of this is obviously it's terrible in terms of what it provides to the environment economically. There's so many different layers to it in that respect. But I do think that the American populace is definitely finding its way out from underneath that in a way that we've never seen before. I was mentioning to Jen's parents before, if you look at the way that people responded when Jen was first running against Debbie the second time in the spring of 24 to where it is now, it is significantly different. Like the entire opinion of the overall population is significantly different. And then the other side of it, which is without question undeniable at this point, is that BRICS has been allowed to cultivate so much of the global stage in a way that it never could have before because of the fact that we stand side by side with Israel. And there's a lot of people now that are looking at them, whether it's China, who will definitely lead the charge, along with Russia, along with North Korea is going to back up Iran, depending on what happens there. But clearly the global South with Brazil, who knows what's going to happen with South Africa. But you look at how this is developing right now. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but the fact that you do have this BRICS currency that is coming to the forefront and will be backed by gold by probably 40%, there is something to be said for those options on the table where if you can get away from the US dollar being the world's hegemon currency, the second it's no longer that case, I mean, look, we're heading for some type of a serious depression anyway, but it's going to be accelerated to such an extent that I don't think anybody truly sees us coming, which is why people like you and Jen are very smart to live in rural America, learn how to actually live off the land, because the people that live in the cities, oh, they are so fucked beyond recognition. I don't even have words for it.
I'm in rural Georgia now. I have like land and I'm doing a farm. That's what I'm doing now.